Stress can kill you, and there's no way of getting around it. Except that there is. In a research study done by Formassa de Bruin back in 2009, there are many scientifically proven methods to reduce stress in your day to day life. It can be anything from cognitive behavioral therapy to something as simple as 15-minute breaks every day. I don't think that I'm alone when I say that this year has been especially brutal. Um, I feel as though stress is something that we all have to deal with. I think now more than ever, it's vital for us to face it head on. I feel this way because an excess of stress can cause a myriad of difficult to deal with mental and physical health issues. These issues, when recognized and addressed, can lead to a healthy and stress free life when you recognize them and you treat them. I want people to recognize when they're stressed, and I want people to take time out of their day to decompress, even if it's only realistically for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go over and show you how to know when you're stressed and um, how to deal with it using peer-reviewed research done by professionals. Um, I know it might be a bit stressful, but I'm going to give you an example from my personal life to show you why managing stress is vital, not only for your health and happiness, but also in the workplace or school. Um, so people who are stressed have to combat a multitude of different issues, which can in turn make you even more stressed. I should know I've been there. I'm sure many of you have as well. My sophomore year of high school, I had a particularly challenging chemistry class. Now, my grade in this class slowly dropped to a D over time, and 16-year-old me was nothing short of horrified. At the beginning of the year, I had started off fine. I felt physically amazing, and I loved having hobbies outside of school. Um, eventually, um, initially, I was stressed about my chemistry grade, but this then prompted me to overwork myself and ignore my other classes, which in turn generated more stress, which then seeped into my other classes' grades, which then caused me even more stress, and so on and so forth, and the cycle continued. During this time, my mental health deteriorated, and I was bordering on depression for a very long time. I became less efficient, and I wasn't nearly as productive as I was at the beginning of the year. I felt guilty about doing things that I liked doing outside of school, and I felt physically unhealthy. By the end of the sophomore year, I had a C in my chemistry class. Somehow, my However, all my unnecessary stress that I had piled on myself over the school year had deeply affected me mentally, socially, physically, and emotionally. Obviously, there's a major difference between what I was like at the beginning of the semester, or the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year. So, what could I have done differently to make this more manageable? What could I have learned or known? So, in order to overcome stress, you need to be able to recognize it and understand it. So, according to researcher Formassa de Bruin in 2016, an overabundance of stress can be recognized when you're both physically and mentally ailing. But there's a very important distinction to be made here. One that Professor Chung made in 2014 when he described the differences between distress and eustress and how not all stress is necessarily bad. Distress can be recognized as bad stress that physically and mentally gets in your way and hurts you. It is mental. It's a mental block, and it isn't dealt with automatically in your brain. Eustress is completely different. Eustress is stress that people deal with on a day-to-day kind of basis. It's considered good stress because it gets you out of bed. It'll get you to work. It's kind of a normal process. It will never physically or mentally hurt you. There are multiple varying side effects to ignoring distress specifically in the short term and the long term. One of them in the short term can be becoming mentally irritable and unstable, which was figured out by Professor Hassman in 2000. Besides the short term consequences, there are also multiple long term consequences. An example of this would be in a weakened immune system, which was found out by Cohen in 1991, Professor Cohen. Um, these are just two of a multitude of different varying symptoms of distress over a long period of time. Given that we know, understand, and recognize the difference between distress and eustress, how could I have managed my stress better during my sophomore year? And how can I learn? How can you learn from my past mistakes? Um, though stress can feel impossible to shake at times, there are multiple proven methods to reduce the stress in your day-to-day life. Um, a research paper made by Gura Delgado in 2010 suggests that mindfulness is one of the most proven ways to reduce stress in the world. What does mindfulness mean? Well, it means essentially when you deliberately pay attention to the present moment without thinking about what's going on in your life. So essentially, you're not thinking about what happened in your past, you're not thinking about what's going on in your future, you don't care about what happened a year ago or what's going to happen a year from now. You don't even care about the next second. You only care about right now. You care about where you are mentally right now. So, the reason this works is because if you're experiencing distress, there are often one or many things in your life that are troubling you that may have implications for your future. By training your mind to pay attention to the present, you can more easily see the bigger picture in life. Exercising mindfulness can also lead to self-investigation, which allows you to better understand how you will react to stress, and specifically distress, in the future. If you practice, I apologize. You can practice this by doing everyday tasks like eating a meal or maybe cleaning up, while not thinking about what's going on in your day-to-day life. Focus on the task. Note that this is not denial, of course. It's simply a way to train yourself to be calm on command. The next proven way to reduce stress is possibly the most recognizable and the most misunderstood, and it's meditation. Now, meditation is usually thought about as being very clearing your mind and kind of sitting in a corner listening to some music, but it doesn't always have to be that. While it can be, it can also just be like doing repetitive simple tasks or setting aside a small amount of time to indulge in a favorite hobby or pastime. Now, meditation should not feel like you're wasting time. If you choose to do an activity or indulge in a hobby, you should train yourself to do this guilt-free. Now, the final stress relief method I will be sharing with you today is one that might be a bit unexpected if you're into sports, and it's physical exercise. Physical exercise is doing physical exercise like yoga has been shown to directly counteract the symptoms of distress, like in Dr. Lorenzo's study in 1999, which showed that those who have yoga or do yoga have actively better sleep. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be yoga, it can be anything else, and there are much more benefits than just sleep. That's just the one that I have listed here. And this being said, doing physical exercises kills technically two birds with one stone, as it gets you physically and mentally prepared for the day. Physical exercise also helps you mentally, as it alleviates the mental health issues and of distress, while also improving your body image. I want people to recognize when they are stressed out and take time out of their day to decompress and manage their stress, even if it's for a couple minutes, just for a couple minutes. Everybody can find a little time in their day to either meditate or do some physical exercise. And even if you can't, then you can still try to do mindful tasks every day, because they don't really intrude into your day-to-day life. Now, while these methods by themselves can work nicely apart, they're most effective when working together. While it's entirely possible to do them separately, like only doing one or the other, mindfulness or maybe meditation, it's best if you try to do them all at once, because they're specifically designed to be able to be incorporated into your day-to-day life. So that's how you get the most out of all the methods I've shown you today. So in conclusion, so now that we've discussed how to identify and effectively treat distress, let's try and apply this information to my past self. So back in high school, I could have easily taken the time out of my busy schedule to try and alleviate the stress I was feeling. I could have taken time out of my day to exercise when I got home, which would have not only helped me alleviate my stress, but it would have made me healthier as well. Instead of abstaining from my favorite hobbies, I should have given myself time to actively indulge in them, even if it was just for 30 minutes. I finally, I tried being mindful. Had I tried being mindful by practicing being in the moment, I would have been able to see past my fears and worries of the future and make better decisions about how to best approach the challenge right in front of me. Now, as you can see, an excess of stress can cause a myriad of difficult to deal with mental and physical health issues, which, when recognized and addressed, can lead to a healthy and stress free life. I want people to recognize that when they are stressed, they should take time out of their day to decompress, even if it's just for a few minutes. So, stress, if left unchecked, is like a virus. And the only way to cure it is by accepting that it's there, and then sitting down on your carpet, closing your eyes to the gentle sounds of the ocean, and simply forgetting it.